Sabah al khair. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today at the second day of the World Economic Forum Open Session. Today's session is on cracking the code to smarter cities. But before we get going, just a few housekeeping items I'd like to cover. We will be allowing for times for questions at the end of our discussion. Please, if you could think of your questions within the realm of smart city development, technology, implementation, urban sustainability, and the role of data analytics in shaping future cities. And I'm sure our panelists will be able to answer within that space for everyone today. Today's session is about the transformative power of smart city technologies and how it takes center stage. With investments forecasted to surge to $327 billion by 2025, these technologies hold immense promise, not only for reshaping economies, but also for significantly enhancing quality of life. By harnessing the potential of advanced infrastructure and data-driven solutions, smart cities are poised to revolutionize urban living, offering sustainable, efficient, and inclusive environments where residents thrive. From optimizing transportation systems to revolutionizing healthcare delivery, smart cities represent a pivotal opportunity to create prosperous and resilient urban communities worldwide. So, with great pleasure today, I'm happy to introduce our panelists and our participants. We'll start on my left, Mr. Sharif Abdelrazak, who is a Senior Director of Digital Transformation at a leading global agri-food conglomerate, where he spearheads their global digital development efforts. He brings a wealth of experience from advancing digital ecosystems across construction, energy, and now agriculture, with a focus on engineering sustainably centric, technological-enabled civilizations. So in summary, he likes impacting human beings and people. Next, with great pleasure, I'm happy to introduce Mr. Rayyan Fayez. He is the Deputy CEO of NEOM. Prior to joining, he was the Managing Director and CEO of Bank Saudi Faransi. Thank you, Rayyan, for being with us today. Dr. Basma Al-Bahairan, who has been very busy at this World Economic Forum, thank you, Basma, for being with us today, is the Managing Director of the WEF Affiliate Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution in Saudi Arabia, a platform fostering public-private multi-stakeholder collaborations to maximize technological benefits and minimize the risk of emerging technologies. Last but not least, Dr. Abdullah Al-Jafali, who is the Regional President of Honeywell in Saudi and Bahrain. He has 2 decades of experience in various management positions, ABB and Honeywell, is supportive of the academia sector as well, and continues to contribute some of his time in that space. So I welcome all of our panelists today. Let's just jump right in. And if you don't mind, we're going to kickstart with Dr. Basma. Dr. Basma, reflecting on the fourth industrial revolution, how do you see emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, the Internet of Things contributing to the advancement of smart city initiatives within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia?
So thank you, Noura, for your question, and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you all this morning. Before I answer that question, I'd just like to take a step back and say, as part of Vision 2030, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has already taken a lot of steps to enhance the livability of citizens and residents within its cities. So for instance, the Ministry of Municipal and Rural Affairs announced that it wants to have 10 cities to be among the top 50 globally. And in fact, the IMD Smart Cities Index report that was released back in 2023 identified Riyadh as ranking number 32, Jeddah as ranking number 52, Mecca ranking as number 56, and Medina as ranking number 58. And so artificial intelligence, going back to your question, supports various smart cities initiatives. So for instance, you can use AI to power traffic management systems, where it can analyze actually real-time data to optimize traffic flow, it can reduce congestion, and it can also minimize travel times within major cities such as Riyadh and Jeddah. AI can also be used as an enabler to enable intelligent surveillance systems which would also improve public safety. In relation to blockchain, blockchain can be used to enhance security and efficiency in operations. So if we're talking about land registration, for example, that's one example. It could also be used to verify citizens' identity. So in summary, a blockchain can reduce any fraud that may occur in property transactions, and also in ensuring secure ownership records in rapidly developing cities such as Riyadh and Dammam. Internet of Things, for instance, the devices and sensors that we use, you could use real-time data collection and communication for waste management as an example, where you can optimize garbage collection times. You could also minimize waste overflow and also promote recycling within the urban areas across the kingdom. But what's very important to note is that even though these emerging technologies do have a lot of benefits, they also come with a lot of risks. So it's important to ensure that we have safe development and safe deployment of these technologies as we're integrating them into the various smart city initiatives and moving towards urbanization, urban development. So we need to take into consideration factors like data privacy concerns, interoperability, and even cybersecurity threats.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Basma. I think many global cities would benefit from that from a traffic perspective. Most capital cities, most likely. Shifting over to you, Rayyan. NEOM has been touted as the futuristic smart city project. How do you envision NEOM leveraging cutting-edge emerging technology, data analytics, to create a model for sustainable and inclusive urban development?
Thanks, Noura, and I'd like to thank the Ministry of Economy and Planning and the WEF for inviting me to this panel and sharing some of the thoughts around NEOM. I'll start maybe by demystifying NEOM a little bit, and then we'll go into the technologies. As you know, many of you see kind of the ads around NEOM and the various regions of NEOM, whether it's the Line, which obviously has captivated the world's imagination, or Trojena, or Oxagon, or Sindala, which will open later this year, or Gulf of Aqaba, which you've seen many of its commercials and ads in the last few weeks. These are the regions of NEOM. And this is what people relate to NEOM more than anything else. However, NEOM is more than a real estate development project. NEOM is a creation of a new economy. It's therefore job creation, diversifying the kingdom out of what historically has been a hydrocarbon-based economy, and is a key pillar of Vision 2030. And to push that economic sustainability and economic engines, we've identified 14 sectors that are actually going to be the source of that economic powerhouse. These sectors are going to be the drivers of jobs and drivers of GDP. But these are also the sectors that are going to innovate in technology. These are the sectors that are going to pick up from where others have left off to create a more sustainable but also futuristic experience in NEOM. Even before what we call phase one of NEOM is complete, we've started engaging in some of these sectors to test and pilot in NEOM as we speak. A big component of that is mobility. We've invested a lot of time, efforts, and resources in multimodal mobility across various solutions. We've actually we did a test flight for a volocopter eVTOL in NEOM, supervised obviously by GACA, but it's one where we can create a test bed for various technologies. We call NEOM a living lab of the future. And the reason we're able to do this today is because we're in a low risk environment. We can test it with the population that we have now without it kind of propagating to a mass scale, which could pose a bit of higher risk. We're also piloting, as we speak, and this will happen hopefully in the coming few weeks, a full seamless immigration process that is paperless, without using any passports, using facial recognition. And again, we can do that in NEOM because we're still small now, the population levels are small, but some of these technologies that could be exported more broadly, whether it is broadly to other regions of the kingdom or the globe, we can use NEOM today as a test bed. I'll talk a bit later as to how this is being implemented in the future at the end state, but we're glad to say that we have an environment today that is susceptible to testing many technologies that would otherwise be difficult to test at a mass scale.
Thank you, Rayyan. Let's jump to Abdullah at the end here. Abdullah, Honeywell's expertise lies in smart building solutions. What insights can you share about the impact of those solutions on energy efficiency, sustainability, and occupant comfort in urban environments, particularly in the Kingdom, if you have any examples to share?
So good morning, everyone. I'm happy here on the stage, and thank you for the Ministry of Economy as well to host such an event with a great mindset leaders all over the globe. But if I ask the questions, what's the definition of the smart cities in this room? Probably I'm going to get 5 to 10 different answers. If we see it from city management perspective, they would like to have reliability system that improve the efficiency of running a cities. They would like to have a surface to improve the quality of life that Noura is driving for all the citizens in the cities. And the last but not least, to have a productive societies and engagement with the citizenship who lives in the cities. And if we see it from the other angle, which is from the citizen who live in the cities and the communities, they would like to have the new technologies that has been the state of art that to improve their daily lives and lower transactional manual entries to the new day-to-day activities. And on top of that, safer and more productive cities. And if we just see globally, any municipalities, usually an average of 30 to 40% from their energy consumption bills goes to the lighting in the street. So if we just pick that as an example and apply energy efficiencies and IoT and smart city, imagine how that contribute to the society as well as the global carbon footprints. And if we pick also buildings as well, globally it's contributing 37% from global carbon emissions globally. So that's the essential of having sustainable building, sustainable community, sustainable society that we are all enjoying with our kids and family. And I think NEOM is a great example that we are really proud to see that's happening in our country from supply to demand. Where is the renewable supply and renewable sustainable solutions, sustainable buildings, and it will be a full experience that all of us will be enjoying, living, and seeing, inshallah, in the near future.
Thank you, Abdullah. Thank you, and I really appreciate you connecting the technology to people again. We have to not forget that the technology is here to support the people using the technology, right? So making sure that human-centric approach is very much at the heart of what we're trying to achieve. Sharif, good morning.
Good morning.
As a global shaper and senior director of digital development, how do you perceive the role of grassroots initiatives and private sector engagement in driving smart city development, and particularly in emerging markets?
Indeed. Thank you for the question, Noura. And thank you to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for having us, and to the Ministry of Economy for hosting, in collaboration with the World Economic Forum, such a wonderful event here in the region. Usually it's happening in Switzerland, but it's good to be in the Middle East this time. I would like to start by actually shedding some light on the subject of this session. I think that we've all been talking about smart cities, but the title of the session is very much about smarter cities. And the very important element in smarter cities is to indicate the value of time as it passes. It's a constant and continuous learning and development process for the relationship between humans and the infrastructure that is built towards ensuring that it is very much a human-centric solution that we're trying to drive forward, right? It's important that we are reminded that it's not about technology as much as it is about the quality of life of the people who are living, utilizing these tools that will always and constantly be developed to ensure that we're living in safer spaces, that we're able to collaborate together much better. And with that, I'd go back to the question about how can we look at emerging markets, because as we're building cities as futuristic as NEOM moonshot projects in a lot of capacities. And I think that this is an effort that should be globally recognized and globally supported and empowered to ensure how far human civilizations can go, more so than a specific geography. It's important that we also look at emerging societies, the marginalized communities, and how can we ensure that everyone is part of this journey together. In specific, two ideas come to mind. I attended a high school in Jordan called King's Academy, and in King's Academy is very much a microcity that was a vision of His Majesty King Abdullah II, and King's Academy very much brought together people from more than 50 countries around the world. And after graduating, we ensured that there is differentiation between schooling and education. And with that, we are currently launching Illuminate, a community that will allow us to continue to engage on global scales of people who have graduated from this smart microcity to become a smart community. And in another capacity, there is also empowering refugees, other marginalized parts of the society, including women empowerment, and in some capacity, men empowerment, I guess we're going to get to. So that is, and with that, I lead back to you, Noura.
Thank you,
Thank
Sharif.
you.
Basma, we're coming back to you. What strategies do you recommend for effectively integrating emerging technologies into urban planning processes to ensure sustainable and inclusive smart city development?
Thank you, Noura, for that question. So my fellow panelists already mentioned an important aspect, human centricity. So it sounds very simple. It's really about putting the citizens at the center of these conversations, and that's where urban development, urban planning should really start from. So we need to really understand what are the challenges that citizens are facing, what are their wishes. So once we understand that, then we would be better able to tackle the challenges and the wishes and the aspirations that they'd like in developing and tailoring solutions that would meet those needs. So that's the first step. The second step is once we've identified what we would like to achieve, then it's about engaging with a diverse set of stakeholders. So it's technology providers, it's urban planners, it's policymakers, etc. So we need to engage collectively in one platform with a diverse set of stakeholders to make sure that we can align the interests of everyone together. Another important factor is I think it's also important to invest in educational development and training, where we need to develop expertise in, for example, renewable energy, green infrastructure, and emerging technology, because that will also enable individuals to better understand, what is needed when we're talking about urban development and making sure that we bring in the emerging technologies that we're talking about. And I think very importantly, it's always it would be important to also pilot solutions on a small scale before we go out and we venture and we have a full scale sort of deployment. Because when you're testing out and you're trying to understand, the solutions that you've put together, are they working, are they not working, you're going to generate a lot of data, and that data will enable you to learn and better develop and enhance. So then once you go through a full sort of deployment, you're going to ensure that what you've put in place will actually work. And I think another point to mention is every community may have different needs. So I don't think it's a one-size-fits-all. So although it might be easier to have a one-size-fits-all solution, but that might not necessarily be the case. So I think it's also important to look at, maybe different nuances that one may have within a city and within the different communities within that city.
So what I'm hearing you say is kind of coming back to that whole placemaking and making sure that what's put in place for any particular community or city is within the context of what is required for that community specifically, and making sure it lives in a holistic ecosystem together.
Absolutely. I think, if we use the sort of maybe analogy or similarity when we talk about healthcare, and I like to use the word health and not healthcare, because healthcare connotates, being ill. or being sick, and we need to be healthy and well. And when you go into a hospital, all the services around you should really revolve around the patient, around the person, because you go in, you're not a patient, you're a person, right? So it's about having that patient, that human centricity. That is very important. And I'm not saying we have it right yet in the health system, but I think that will probably make it easier for people to sort of understand, where I'm coming from when we're talking about putting the citizen at the center of everything that we're trying to do to enhance the quality of life for the citizens.
Well, that's music to my ears. My job is really easy being part of the Quality of Life program because everyone subscribes to it very naturally and it takes very little convincing. So thank you for that. Rayyan, we mentioned earlier that investments are projected to reach over 327 billion. That is a very large number. How does NEOM utilize investment to drive innovation and sustainable urban development?
As I mentioned earlier, NEOM is not just a project. And when you think of NEOM as a region and creation of a new economy, you have to think about the various tools that NEOM has been given to enable that innovation in technology, but also in urban living and sustainability. So we have the NEOM Investment Fund within NEOM. It's a wholly owned subsidiary of NEOM, and it's the strategic investment arm of NEOM. We've used that arm as the vehicle through which we make early stage investments in companies and technologies that will go to enhance the 14 sectors I mentioned earlier and deliver this seamless, futuristic, next generation technologies in NEOM. And again, I'll go back to the human centricity, which I think is important. We haven't compared notes, and it seems like it's a common theme across everything that we do. Through these investments, we are looking to capture, not only be part of the innovation itself, but also to bring the innovation back to NEOM. We've made more than 2.5 billion riyals worth of investments so far. And maybe this is one area that the world doesn't hear much about compared to our regional developments, but it's as important as everything else we're doing in NEOM. Big themes in those investments have been mobility. We made investments in Pony.ai in China, Volocopter in Germany, Zero Avia, which is in the hydrogen type mobility, as well as technology. Going back to the discussion around Web3 and blockchain technologies, we made an investment in Animoca, which is a leader in gaming as well as blockchain technologies. Food is also sectors that we have made investments in. So these are the various areas that have been a focus of ours. Energy and water is going to continue to be a theme. I didn't mention earlier that we are delivering or promising to deliver a 100% renewable system, which at a scale as NEOM has never happened at a scale as NEOM has been, and investments in next generation, whether it's storage and renewable technologies to bring to NEOM and activate is one area that we're looking at as well. So it's a function of how can we use the tools that we have, and we've blessed with a very important tool in NIF, NEOM Investment Fund, to make the right investments, bring the investments onshore. Part of the strategy is also localize and job creation, and that's a great way of using capital to attract investments as well as technologies to NEOM. We think that investments and being part of the ecosystem as an investor and a capital deployer makes a huge difference in influencing direction of technologies, but also in the ability to import and bring the technology and experiment onshore.
Thank you, Rayyan. Sharif, we're coming over to you now. We're going to hit the ball over to you. Can you share with us some examples? We'd like you to bring it to life a little bit for our audience in person and online. Can you share some examples of innovative projects or partnerships that have successfully leveraged digital technologies and data analytics to address urban challenges and to enhance quality of life of residents? We talked about a very nice one that you did during COVID, so
Indeed.
I don't mean to prompt you that direction.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I'd like to think about different segments, and I'd like to shed some light on the construction industry to begin with before we talk about the social entrepreneurship element to it. From a construction perspective, one of the projects that has been built utilizing technology is focused on streamlining the data transfer of what's happening on site. Because when we think of cities, we think of more on a macro level, right? Construction projects are very much micro cities as well. And with more than 10,000 employees on a project, it's very difficult to manage the dynamics of everyone on site and what's happening and what's not. And we took that happened also during COVID, where we realized that it's very integral that we try to actually build systems utilizing wearable technologies, Internet of Things, sensors, and different kinds of existing cloud computing solutions to ensure that the latency of the information that is being transferred from what's happening on site operationally to decision makers in offices and across the world who happen to be the client side in a much more streamlined way, much more informative way. But at the same time, when we think of that, we think on a back to the grassroots level, right? So during COVID, we thought about how can we empower and how can we be inclusive in our thinking. We realized that at the intersection of potential and technology, human potential specifically and technology, there's a lot that can be created. And AI, instead of us, even though AI has been a word, the buzzword of the past, I don't know, year at least, I think that the most important point about AI, in my perspective, it's very much about bridging the digital divide. And in that sense, I think about the importance of upskilling, but also the importance of us, instead of asking people to get to technology, how can we bring technology closer to the users? And AI has enabled us to explore how we can utilize visual, verbal, and different kinds of capabilities to engage with technologies, engaging different refugees and less marginalized, more so, communities. And with that, we launched a project, a very simple project called Ka'k Bladi. And Ka'k Bladi has started 2 years ago, bringing refugees around the table, building a sense of community to put artisan desserts that are healthy, vegan, and very much focused on the well-being of those who enjoy it together. And today we sell across 20 countries, and we have taken that from very much a passion project to a successful business that we hope to scale globally. And maybe through this platform one day we will.
Building on that, Sharif, we talk about bridging that divide. If we can move towards, one of the themes of this conference is about collaboration, right? So how do you foster that cross-sector collaboration within these initiatives that you do? How do you bring together the public, the private, and the nonprofit sector within this space?
I wish I had a very simple answer to that question, but I think that with the emergence of technology, we're only realizing the importance of the human element with our connections. And it's important to recognize that governments are also human-led. Sometimes we just think of the government as a punching bag. We just blame the government should do, the government should have done. But at the same time, I think that public-private partnerships is an integral part for us to ensure that while we're focusing on a specific silo, we're looking at it holistically, and we're ensuring that everyone is included in the process. This reminds me of a case that is currently happening in the south of Jordan, very close to Neom, in a city called Aqaba. And Aqaba is the port of Jordan, where the government has launched a collaboration with Cisco to ensure that we're building a digital twin, which is very much encompassing the solution that is about propagating what's happening on an infrastructure layer on the tech network and tech platform, to ensure that the infrastructure that is built is not only in place but also looked at from a cybersecurity perspective. It's a safe space to live, and the user experience, which is very much in the tech space but also in the human element now. So that's where we're trying to see more collaboration happening.
Thank you, Sharif.
Sure.
Dr. Basma, how can the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution collaborate? We're on the subject of collaboration here, so we're going to continue. How can they collaborate with public and private sector stakeholders to facilitate the adoption of cutting-edge technologies? And what role does innovation play in this collaboration?
So I think to expand on the question you asked Sharif earlier, first of all, the Center for 4IR in Saudi Arabia is one of, I think it's 18 or 19 centers globally. And we are part of the Center for Fourth Industrial Revolution Network. And our vision in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is to be a world-class 4IR do and think tank. And we are a convening platform. And so collaboration, partnerships is our forte. And because we are a convening platform, we bring together multi-stakeholders, government, industry, civil society, academic, and research organizations. And it's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing to do. It does have its challenges, but it is important nonetheless. And that's how we operate. That's our operating model. And we do this for all of the different projects, initiatives that we have at the center. And when we collaborate with our partners and stakeholders, we do this through joint initiatives, joint projects, knowledge sharing initiatives, and even policy advocacy forums. And since we're talking about smart cities and we're talking about other emerging technologies that are important to smart cities and urbanization, urban development, I'll share with you just a short example on one of our projects, which is in relation to autonomous mobility. It's an autonomous mobility initiative that we have. And we're working on this jointly with the Ministry of Transport, Logistics Services, and other stakeholders as well. And when we talk about industry, when I say industry, it's not just industry locally in the kingdom, but it's also global, global industry players, large corporations, and SMEs as well. SMEs are also very important to innovation, likewise startups. So in this particular project, this autonomous mobility project, what we're working on is developing a framework for safe deployment of autonomous mobility, prioritizing, and you're going to love this, Noura, social acceptance. Again, human centricity, individuals, citizens, residents, they're at the center of all of this. And so we're prioritizing that as part of this framework. So, you know, I don't know if I've answered your question fully, but everything that we do is about collaboration, bringing everybody together. And because we're focused on different emerging technologies, such as quantum, such as artificial intelligence, smart cities is another one. Industrial Internet of Things for SMEs is also another one. And because we're working with academic and research institutions, they bring the research expertise, the innovation. Likewise, do the startups and the SMEs. And so the center is able to bring all of these different stakeholders together where we can actually test out these innovative solutions to make sure that as we're proposing regulatory frameworks or tech governance, that it's safe and it's responsible, and that we've also looked at all of the various different ethical aspects.
Perfect. Thank you, Basma. I think we're getting closer to how we're going to crack the code on smart cities. I'm going to give the audience one guess when we're done with our conversation here. But it's becoming more and more evident as we continue to have this conversation. Abdullah, what challenges have you encountered in retrofitting existing infrastructure, right? Not all cities have the pleasure of being, you know, like NEOM, where you get to start from scratch. There are existing cities that you have to work within frameworks that are already in place. But what are some of the challenges you faced when you're trying to retrofit existing infrastructure with smart technologies, especially within the context of Saudi and our region? And what strategies have proven to be successful for you at Honeywell to execute this effectively?
So I'll just give an example. The city that we are in today, if you imagine it 100 years ago, during King Abdulaziz's time, it was around 7,500 as a population. And then around 2000, it's literally 3 million. And today we are crossing 7 million. And you can imagine tomorrow the population of Riyadh, how it will be. The main challenge remains through the journey that we all lived in is how to have better quality of lives, better society for all the populations that we live in. And even if you see it from a global perspective, people are moving to urban societies. Today, there is, from a global populations, 55% are living in the urban societies. The plan or the projections up to 2050 is to reach approximately 68%. So the main challenge remains is how to make sure we are delivering the right quality of lives to all the populations that we are living in. In terms of example, I'll just give you one example or a couple of examples that we partner with Riyadh airport company. We signed an MOU with them a couple of years ago, is to digitalize the passenger experience from purchasing the ticket, from getting inside the terminals until getting in the plane, and how to make sure that the passengers have a smooth experience. And you can, probably some of you, all of you have experienced it when they land to Riyadh. This is existing airport that has been in Riyadh for a couple of years, in fact, decades. So what we did, we partner with our end users, and we co-innovate, and then we delivered our solution. It's not the other way around that, hey, we have a product, we want to sell it. No, we sit, we brainstorm, and we co-innovate together. And that's how we usually, our strategy with our partners. Another example in the oil and gas sectors, we just recently started a joint venture with Aramco to establish a digitalization of the existing oil and gas sectors. So we change our mindset from a product transactional base to more co-innovations and co-partnering to our existing infrastructures.
Thank you. I think I saw a lot of heads nodding in the audience that the experience at the airport over the past several years has definitely improved tremendously. I don't even know how to measure the improvement, but it's improved tremendously. Yeah. So I thank you for that. We're going to continue, Abdullah, if we build on kind of where we're going on projects within the kingdom. Diversification is a core element of Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030. Right? And within the implementation of smart cities and subsequent positive impact on sustainability, it's poised to play a crucial role in realizing some of the vision goals. How do you see the role of private sector in helping to drive this diversification and embed really a true smart city future for the kingdom?
So if we look to the Vision 2030, what's the main objective of it? It's empowering youth and women, pivoting in the new industry that we were not in, such as mining, new technologies, aviations, and double down in that area. And on top of that, improving the quality of life for all our citizens. And that will lead to higher GDP for the society, job creations, and quality of life that we are all enjoying. We at Honeywell, we focus on the three mega trends: automations, future of aviations, and energy transitions. And we try to partner with our customers in co-innovations and partnering with them to develop the state-of-art technologies to make sure that we are delivering the right solution that pivoting and solving problems to our clients. So that's one of the examples that we are trying to work and partner with the whole ecosystem, and we can call it for all of us, let's collaborate to deliver and achieve the Vision 2030, inshallah, together.
Inshallah. Thank you, Abdullah. Rayyan, we're going to close our conversation with you with our last question, and that is, NEOM aims to redefine livability in its smart city development. How does NEOM prioritize the well-being and quality of life of all its residents within that space?
I mentioned earlier that NEOM is a key pillar of Vision 2030, and actually the largest project within Vision 2030. And this is where NEOM tackles the domestic agenda that NEOM is there to provide. But NEOM's existence is not reliant only on a diversification of the economy and delivering one of the key pillars of the vision. It has a global role to play. A global role to play in redefining livability, and I'll come to that in a second, redefining business, and creating an environment where capital and talent can be attracted from all over the world and create a business for the future. And redefining conservation. How can humans coexist with nature without one compromising the other? 95% of NEOM is going to put aside as a nature reserve. So all of the projects that you've seen being announced are only going to be developed on 5% of the land. And when we talk about urban, how's NEOM, what role is NEOM playing in redefining livability? Examples like the line actually come to mind. And actually the line is an urban revolution in the way cities could potentially be built in the future. And it goes back to the point you mentioned earlier, Noura, of one of the significant advantages that NEOM has, and we have many actually, but one of which is starting from scratch and building something where other people would have left off, not only from a technology standpoint, which I discussed, but also from an urban living, urban design. So innovating and redefining livability is a core feature of what NEOM is trying to deliver to the world, not only to the kingdom. So when you think of the line, it's there to tackle some of the key urban challenges, urban sprawl that came at the advent of the Industrial Revolution and the cars, and having cities that sprawl kilometers on each side, which creates a lot of not only livability challenges, but also environmental challenges. And having a city like the line that uses very, very little land and captures both a linear as well as a vertical advantage of what that city can do is the urban revolution. It is going to be predictive, cognitive as well. So how can we capture the technology into everything we're doing in the line? But importantly as well, as we talked about the different sectors that we discussed earlier, technology is a key component. We're investing significantly in connect and compute capacity. We have a data center that is completing this year, and we've invested significantly in the digital connectivity of NEOM. But other sectors like healthcare, where it can be predictive, proactive, as well as personalized, how can that be implemented in improving the livability of people in NEOM? Education, as we know, people will only travel and leave their homes to go somewhere else if they have top-notch education and healthcare. And these are sectors that we've invested significantly in today in anticipation of when phase one is completed and we welcome residents. So we have already a hospital on the ground, a really very advanced hospital that is operating at the moment and servicing people who live there. We've already hired our provost, our president of the NEOM University, as well as the key staff from the education sector that will be the anchor to what the future of the education sector will be. And many of these are global leaders in their fields. And we're proud to be a center, because none of this will happen without attracting the right human capital, not only financial capital. And we've had, alhamdulillah, early successes in attracting some of the best talent from all over the world. We have more than 4,500 people on the ground from more than 100 nationalities, representing some of the leaders in their fields globally. So we're quite pleased with our ability to attract the talent. And hopefully this is a good case study of what kind of talent we'll be able to attract in the future when phase one is complete.
Well, we're looking forward to visiting in person soon.
Inshallah.
So we can test your quality of life. Yeah. There's nothing bigger than a test when someone from the center comes to visit you. Then we'll see how it goes. To wrap things up really quickly, and maybe, let's get the energy going first thing in the morning. Really quickly, I just want to go through, off the top of your mind, what's the one thing that excites you most about the near future? Not so far off in the future, in the near future. Sharif.
I think that the possibilities, I feel like we sit at an intersection of time where technology, we're at a breakthrough time. Yep. Technology has reached to a point where I think that historic AI has only been trained by what humans have generated technologically and data-wise. But now that we're building a mesh network of semiconductors and microconductors that are going to be connecting infrastructure with the cloud, we can only imagine how far AI is going to go. So that's one thing that I'm excited about.
Very cool. Rayan.
Going back to your point, excited about hosting visitors to NEOM very soon. We have our first destination opening later this year, Sandala, which is a beautiful island, and this for us is a monumental moment because it's the first time we invite the world to come to NEOM. It'll see one part of NEOM, not the full NEOM in its end state, which is obviously gonna take time and coming, but at least it's an opportunity for the world to come and see the beauty that we live in every day.
Well, we look forward to that. Dr. Basma.
That's a difficult question. I mean, we're living at a time where everything is just so exciting and so exhilarating, and it's just, you know, it's a different time. I think the impossible is possible in Saudi Arabia, and I think that's what excites me, because I'm very certain that there are other things that are going to happen that we might not even have on our horizons right now or on our minds. Hence, you know, I like to say the impossible is possible. And again, I agree with Sharif. I think the possibilities and the opportunities are endless, and they're monumental.
Perfect, thank you. I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. Abdullah.
I'm passionate to see like the implementations of the Vision 2030. It's happening and implemented. I mean, like starting from northern Neom, going to Red Sea in the west coast, and to Diriyah Gates and Qiddiya as well. So we talk about it a couple of years ago, and now we see it in the current day. And in the future, we're going to talk about with our kids. Hey, me and my friends, we work together to build the future of Saudi Arabia. That's what I'm passionate about.
Thank you, Abdullah. Well, thank you, everyone. I think, you know, to bring it all together, right, the subject of this panel today was cracking the code to smart cities, right? So I think the one common theme that I heard everyone come through is really putting the person first, the human centricity. It's not just about technology, it's about the technology serving the people, and making sure that it's within the context of the community or the city or the geography and the time that we find ourselves in. So I want to thank you all for your contributions today. I really do appreciate it. We're going to open for some questions in the audience. I'm not sure if someone has a microphone, or do we need a microphone? If anyone has any questions, please feel free to put your hand up. Any questions at all? It could be about their hobbies if you like. We have a question down here, please. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for the amazing discussion. I'm Nabil Sheikhoun, working with Abdullah as a Chief Commercial Officer for the Middle East, Turkey, and Africa. We're a proud partner, actually, with NEOM on the Sindal Island, and I echo what Mr. Fayez was saying about the beauty of that area, which I personally visited, to your point. My question is more on the collaboration. We keep hearing about how human capital, collaboration, co-innovation, co-creation is important. And we have a lot of players aiming at being part of this amazing vision. I still see, I would say, room for improvement when it comes to bringing the brands around the table for an open forum and discussing how technologies, not only a specific product, a specific solution, but technologies on its broader part can enhance the Vision 2030, can help the vision of all these amazing projects and actually contribute to human ultimately. Sometimes as technology provider, you know, we have brands sitting outside the region, passionate about developing product, and every players have actually armies of engineers and doctors to find the best solution. One question is really on how can we enhance those open forum to basically, without commercial appetite, just look at the problem and bring the best around this, because we do it on individual basis, but maybe a suggestion for elevating the technology and help really develop and deploy the vision.
Thank you very much. So the question is really about how do we foster that sense of collaboration and elevate it to, let's just say, more of a institutional level instead of an ad hoc basis.
Absolutely.
Is that where I'd like to look to my panelists. You didn't direct it to a certain person, so I'm kind of feeling maybe Dr. Basma, do you have any insights to this? Would you like to share any insights to this?
So I think this open forum is probably one example.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And that's why we're here and we're having this open dialogue.
Yeah.
Maybe it's having more of these, sort of open forums. I think another thing to think about is the Ministry of Investment. I'm not here to market for anybody or for any entity, but the Ministry of Investment really is the gateway for a lot of, all of these investors. And they also put on different forums, different events, et cetera. So I think that's also another avenue. But that's probably something more formal. But I think if we can have more of these sort of informal, dialogues, I think those would be really appreciated probably by companies such as yourselves and even other companies, and more importantly, I think startups as well, and SMEs. And we also have, our center is hosted at King Abdulaziz City for Science and Technology, and that's where the garage is, and I'm sure you all know what the garage is. And that I think is another great place where we can also, come together, convene, bring, different groups of people to also have these sort of engaging, conversations. I don't know, maybe my fellow panelists have other ideas.
I totally agree. I think it's a challenge maybe at an individual level to sometimes overcome your direct commercial interest at the expense of creating a forum and attending for non-commercial benefit. And I do believe forums like this do create that kind of dialogue. And I always say that attending the World Economic Forum events, the best moments coming out of these events are the accidental, non-planned moments where you run into someone, and these are the platforms that will create these opportunities for ideas and collaborative exchanges. They could be maybe a little bit more structured in other areas, but I do think whether it's the World Economic Forum or other events in the Kingdom have created opportunities for that kind of cross-collaboration on particular technology side.
So LEAP is another example.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Do we have any other questions from our audience today?
I'll add something to actually what was mentioned then until maybe someone thinks of another question. I think that I'm thinking about, since startups was mentioned and the commercialization aspect as well, I think that the software community, the developers community has spearheaded a very interesting approach to addressing this specific type of collaboration through creating an open source code in general, right? By creating the open source code, like GitHub communities in general, a lot of people, thought leader, passionate people, researchers were able to come together towards solving a specific direction. I'd also take some things out of context a bit, but going back to what Ryan was saying earlier about how NEOM is also very much an idea, correct? And I think that as we were discussing, having a North Star that everyone is interested in reaching towards or passionate towards getting to, that's a point where people are going to start to overlook the commercial aspect. And I think that in so many senses, the commercial aspect is slightly, somehow, it is about sustainability, but also about the short-term aspect of it. If we're trying to build sustainably, we need to be able to plant seeds to which we might not sit in the shades of, you know? And by doing that, I think that that's very much leadership in a very simple context. So yeah, it's true that we're here today together, and I think that that's a very good place to be as a starting point. I think of every event that I attend as a starting point for further collaborations, so we can start with ourselves, I think.
Thank you very much, Sharif. So I think with that, we're going to conclude our panel discussion today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in person and online, and we look forward. I hope you stay with us for the next session, which will be starting shortly just after this one. Thank you.
Thank you.